So good morning once again, and very warm welcome from wherever you are tuned in. Uh, I'm very happy to join you in this webinar for today, which is emotional intelligence at the workplace, as I have brought up the screen in terms of our discussion today. Allow me to introduce myself so that you get to know me. I hope maybe we've interacted with some of you. My name is Catherine Wamwangi. I'm a HR practitioner and executive coach. I partner a lot with ACHRP in terms of facilitating training. So thank you once again, then, for giving me the opportunity to facilitate today's webinar. I'll say we start off with a word of prayer, and so that we continue well. After that, then we can unmute ourselves and maybe just say what is our expectation for this webinar, and then also maybe just to get to know each other. I believe that even in virtual webinars and virtual workshops, we can still be able to enjoy meeting new people so that we widen our scope of network and maybe build our professional and personal careers. So that is important. So allow me to pray so that we start. Dear Heavenly Father, we come in front of you this morning with thanksgiving in our hearts. God, we thank you for the opportunity to be able to unlearn, relearn, and learn. Thank you, God, for the experiences that each one of us have that we are going to share in this webinar. We thank you for ACHRP for putting it together, and thank you, God, for giving me the opportunity to facilitate it. God, we ask you to give us the presence of mind and also to steady our electricity, our networks, our internet, so that we'll be able to have a smooth seminar. In Jesus' name we pray, trusting and believing. Amen. And all people said amen. Okay, great. So we can start off. Maybe anyone who wants to unmute and maybe just say expectations for today, what we hope to take away. Anyone would like to unmute? Even when you thought about emotional intelligence at the workplace, what really came to mind? Anything that came to mind? Anything would like to start us off? You just say your name, the industry that you work in, so that we have an interactive session. Beth, I can see your pretty face. You're on mute. You're on mute. Then our participants may be able to, yeah, she's muted, yeah. Good.
Yes, my name is Beth. I'm from Mombasa. I work at Oshwell Academy.
Oh, nice, okay. What are your expectations for today's webinar?
Yes, interested in learning about it's the emotional intelligence, right? In the workplace, just some of the strategies that I can use in managing and practicing the HR in the workplace.
Fantastic. Some of the strategies that we can put in place at the workplace for us to have a better workplace from the point of emotional intelligence. Thank you, Beth. County Mombasa, thank you for joining us. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other expectations? Things that you would like to take away? Okay. So feel free to unmute. So let's start off by just reflecting on some of the things that really we hold dear in terms of who we are as human beings, what we should be doing, how we should relate with each other, and what is the importance of that. I believe that all of us woke up this morning and said, this is how I feel. And the other day, we had a very good seminar where the facilitator was saying, the moment you ask someone, how are you? The default answer is always, I am fine. Default answer. And it's nothing bad with that. Compared to asking someone, how are you feeling? And it evokes some level of thought and some level of emotion where you come and say, well, maybe I'm happy, maybe I feel a bit unsettled, I feel ecstatic, I feel anxious, So from that point of view, then people start relating a little bit more with people. While that is not our default setting in terms of greetings, we say hello, good morning, good evening. But once in a while, as people who work together, even in families, then we need to ask people, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling today? And it just brings all sorts of emotions. So I would like to ask you this morning to just think through and say, how are you feeling today? When you woke up and maybe you're feeling happy, you're feeling excited, you're feeling Can you hear me? Beth, can you hear me? If you can, please give me a thumbs up.
We can hear you, but you had
dropped off. It just threw me off and then I came back anyway. So that's what I was saying. So in terms of emotional intelligence, we look at a couple of things, the interpersonal relationship at the workplace, and even some of the strategies that you can use to be able to be a better person in the society. So stay with me. Feel free to raise up your hand, share your experiences, and to see where we are in terms of where we shall be. So this will be our framework for today. We will look at a framework that you can use you as a person and you can use at the workplace. And I believe that the topic today is emotional intelligence at the workplace. So looking at the interpersonal realm, the interpersonal realm, the intrapersonal realm, the adaptability realm, the stress management realm, and the general mood realm, and that's why I said when I started off, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling expectant? So when you think about emotional intelligence in your understanding, what is emotional intelligence and how have you used it in the previous past? Anybody who would like to share with us without putting anybody on the spot so that I'm not the one talking all the time? Anyone who would like to try? If you search emotional intelligence, there's millions and millions and millions of searches. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of reference has been done in the area and research has been done in the area of emotional intelligence. But the father of emotional intelligence is attributed to Daniel Coleman. Daniel Coleman did a lot of work in the area, has continued to do a lot of work in the area of emotional intelligence. And if you like to read, like I do, I would like to point you to one of his books of working with emotional intelligence, and it's a good one. And it's the framework. A lot of work we will refer to that. And even when we look at this framework, it's one of the things that we are going to do. So emotional intelligence is the ability to understand oneself and others, understanding yourself. And I keep telling people, call yourself to a meeting one day and say exactly who are you. And you can even, and many a times is when people ask you who you are, briefly introduce yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. People will say, my name is Catherine. I'm a facilitator at ACHRP. I'm a HR practitioner. I'm an executive coach. I have this many years of work experience. Fair enough. That's okay. But when you look at an iceberg, the bigger chunk of what is what is hidden under the water, and that's really makes who we are. That's the tip of the iceberg, very little, but the iceberg, the mass of it, is actually down there. So when you think about who you are, is looking at yourself in many states. Your emotional states, your physical state, your mental state, your cognitive ability, and we'll talk about all this as we go along. And how do we bring that in the area of work, because everybody at the workplace is made of people with different personalities, people with different characters, people with different beliefs. And how do we bring it all together for us to be able to work harmoniously for the benefit of the organization and for the benefit of us all? Because why do we work? We work to achieve a certain objective. People have different objectives as to why they go to work. Also, people attach meaning to at the workplace very, very differently compared to what maybe you or the other person would be. So the ability to understand oneself and others is extremely important. So we look at various things around self-regulation, self-awareness, self-motivation, empathy, and the social skills that we bring into it. And why do we say that emotional intelligence is extremely important at the workplace? Anybody would like to give us the experience at the workplace, and what does the workplace mean? Does it mean just the formal workplace setting, the offices? And is it from the time we get into the office 8 to 5? Or does anybody have a reference of, at the workplace, the designated workplace? Anybody? I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Anybody? Okay. So the workplace, for what we know, is the designated place of work where people are expected to report, interact, and collaborate with everybody else. So I'd like to put some emphasis at the workplace so that even when we see how we all come together, and the word collaboration has been used now many, many times, and it's showing the results that it's supposed to show. And the workplace can be a physical workplace, like you go to the office, but after COVID, a lot happened, and many people now work virtually, and you can sit in any jurisdiction. You're sitting in one country and another person is sitting in another country because of the nature of your work, but you still work harmoniously and you work seamlessly. So the employer has created mechanisms for people to come together through a physical identified location, or through various platforms like this one. We're using Teams, we are using Zoom, we can use Teams, we can use Google Meet, we can use all sorts of platforms for us to be able to engage. And that engagement is what now makes us meet, and then we now come and say, how are we going to collaborate? A new colleague has come and has met 300 of you, looking and feeling, oh, it's my first day, I'm excited to be here, but how do I now position myself so that they can appreciate my expertise, and how can I quickly integrate myself into the workplace? All of us bring different emotions at the workplace, but we are supposed to regulate those emotions in a very authentic way. Let me repeat that, because it forms a part of the basis of how we are going to interact, that we should bring our authentic self to work. And we can also regulate that authentic self to be able to be the best that we can ever be. Because everyone is full of potential, and sometimes we don't explore that potential to the fullest. And that's what we want to say, that through the use of emotional intelligence, the framework and the tools that we can bring, first as ourselves as individuals, and then everybody else is able to do the same, then we might have a nearly perfect workplace. But I'd also like to talk into the area of culture, that also speaks into a lot of how we interact and how we collaborate with each other. And culture is a look and feel. There is no way we can say that we can touch culture. Like the way we say, I'm touching my notes or referencing my notes and stuff like that. It's really a look and feel. It's what we have created, the beliefs, the values, the customs, and sets around the objectives that we want to achieve, the kind of business that we are in. So, and culture is set, the tone is set from the top, coming all the way down. And culture is a beautiful thing to have, and it's an important thing to have. Without us having a good culture, there's no way that people will be able to be their authentic self. That's you can take that to the bank in terms of having a good culture and working towards having a good culture is important. And I believe that you can look back and say, what kind of culture do we have in our organization? And culture, sometimes we can describe it. It's definitely it's describable, and I think that is important. And we describe it through the values that we put. I see values of collaboration, uh, customer centric. I see honesty. I see professionalism. And those are good values to have so that they speak into our work and then speak into the character and personalities and moral obligations that we're supposed to bring to the organization. So once that is set and we continuously monitor our culture through engagement surveys and stuff like that, we're also able to support people with their emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence is who we are, bringing ourselves, and we are not perfect human beings. We have faults and we have strengths and we have weaknesses, and that's what we want to make sure that we look into today so that we see how to support each other. So the ability to understand oneself and others, and have you understood yourself? What really is what would be a deal breaker for you if you are put in a certain environment, because you come and say this would be a deal breaker? Perhaps people who are, and I'm not saying that's what it is, maybe you don't ascribe to a certain good or product, let's say a product. You would find it very difficult to work in such an environment. You come and say, my beliefs and my values do not ascribe to this kind of products and services. So I am not going to work in such an environment, because then it will influence me unduly or antagonize that organization, because I will come and say, I'm always against the policies of what it is. So ability to self-regulate and to understand yourself is extremely important. So we will look at each of the pillars. Let me put it like that, in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 pillars, and we will see how we're able to incorporate them at the workplace. And I believe these are things that you're already doing, but in these seminars and these webinars really gives us a good understanding or a further understanding or reminder while at it to see how best to be able to bring them to life at the workplace and how we can be able to support the organization. Okay? So feel free to interject, feel free to raise up your hand through or interact with the chat if you are able to, for us to be able to do what needs to be done. So the intraperson, what is intra? I see organizations also having an intranet, and the internet, the extranet. So the intranet and the extranet, that's the same. The intranet means that is where we put all our company internal communication, anything that we do not want to go out. And that intranet, sometimes I see that organizations also lock it. It is not open to the public. So it is just for internal consumption only. And even when you try and maybe copy and trying to copy and or cut something from the intranet, even you as an employee, you'll not be able to, because the settings which have been put do not allow you to share this information with anybody else. Internally only, it's for internal communication, consumption. And I'm sure you've also seen maybe in your organization where communication has been sent and you're only told that this is only for internal communication. Please don't share it out with other stakeholders, because maybe it's your internal secrets, confidential information, things that you don't want other people to know, maybe before the launch of a product or a service. So that's the same. And then there's the external internet, where everything is put for the necessary information is put for the general public or your stakeholders for them to know. So that's how it is. So it's the same for us as human beings, where we come and say the intra is me, the things that I know, And I'm sure maybe you can relate with the Johari window, the 4 quadrants. The what I know that other people do not know. What I know about Catherine, me, and other people do not know, and maybe why do I not want to share? That's always a big question in psychology. Why don't I want to share about who I am internally, and I will hide it completely, and I will not want other people to know? There could be many factors, including anybody who would like to tell us, would like to share. It's things maybe you because of your personality, you don't want to share them out. They are the extroverts, they are the introverts. Nowadays between the introvert and the extrovert, a new name that has come in, the ambiverts. And then there's also there's also the sanguines, the melancholics, all those personality types, type A, type B. So it just depends. First, your personality will just make you feel that there's some things that I would like to hold. There's some things that you're not too happy to share with, because maybe you feel that people will mark you down, or they will look at you differently, or they will pass judgment, or things even maybe you are embarrassed to share because you know that they're not the right things that you ascribe to. So there are many things that people struggle with. And that's why we keep on saying, from a point of view of psychology and as coaches, who are you? Bringing your true self to the realization to enable you do things differently that have maybe made you still feel stuck. And some of these things that you're not willing to confront head on, could have some limiting effect on you. Okay. And that's also what happens at the workplace, is that if we are not given an opportunity to explore who we are, because again of the kind of culture that we have, people will not be truly authentic to themselves. You see a different Catherine at the workplace and a very different Catherine at another social setting. So the intrapersonal realm, we'll talk around the concerns your ability to know and manage yourself and embrace it completely. So we'll talk about self-awareness, assertiveness, independence, self-regard, and self-actualization. So those are the things that are in the intrapersonal, the realm, the real happenings around who you are, the intrapersonal. So self-awareness, what is self-awareness? If we talk about self-awareness in a large grand scale of scheme, when we talk assertiveness, how assertive are you? It's good to know that being assertive is important, and it is a good thing. Of course, the opposite of assertiveness is aggressiveness. And we see people who are so aggressive in putting their point across that people will not want to work with them. So we'll talk about assertiveness a little bit more in depth. Independence, how does independence look like? What is the importance of independence? How does it come along? Ability to be self-regard. How do you regard yourself? What's your reputation? And your reputation is what people say about you when you are not in the room. What's your brand? What if you are not in the room? What would you say about that person? And who is your sponsor? That's the big ticket item now in everybody's lips. Who is your sponsor? Who's able to come and say, if there's anybody to be given this task and to head this project, they put up their hand and say, it is this person. So who's your sponsor? Who's speaking about you when you're not in the room and vouching for you in terms of your ability to deliver, while at it, to deliver with a level of authority, and also to deliver with a level of calmness that is well deserved around your intrapersonal self. They'll talk about yourself, your emotional intelligence, in a way that they can convince others and people can come and say, yes, it is. The self-actualization. And we all journey together at very different levels in terms of where we are as people. So everybody's self-actualization is very different from me. You know, me and you, very different. If you come and say, oh, you had maybe goals for this year, and if you come and say, let's say you wanted to buy what? Let's say you wanted to buy a car, for example, and you'll be very happy if you bought a car and you're working towards it, you had a goal, and you're saying by the end of the year, now is November, and actually what you're doing right now is shopping for a car because you've got the resources to be able to do it, and you also are very clear in terms of why you need a car. So it's one of the areas you can say I've self-actualized. Someone will come and say I will need to do a master's degree, for example, and self-actualization. Some people will come and say, for me, self-actualization is to make sure that I go for a hike every month, and that's self-actualization. Everybody's level of self-actualization is very different. And of course, we know that also something that really unifies human beings in the area of self-actualization is the Maslow law. At the very bottom of the pyramid is for us all to meet our basic needs. And then we go up and up and up and up and up until the last level of self-actualization, where you are looking back and what you are doing is giving back. So where we are in terms of self-actualizations, our dreams, our desires, our goals, and stuff like that. So we'll look at it in terms of each one in depth. And I keep saying, if there's anything that you'd like to share, please share. So I'll go back to three basic things in terms of the emotional intelligence: is the cognitive, the physical, and the emotional. That is what really makes the human being. The three things is the cognitive, the basic, and the emotional. And why do I say that? The cognitive is, of course, we know the conscious, intellectual capability, activity of a human being. So you're almost born with your cognitive capability or ability. And let me give an example, is that your IQ, you've got very little chance or capability of changing your IQ. Whichever IQ you're born with, then that almost forms your cognitive capability. And cognitive is your ability to learn and gain knowledge. And when you are in school, of course, you learn many subjects. And if you're struggling with one subject, you will struggle with it even at your old age. If you are not good at geography, for example, even right now, when you think, now I can be able to understand it a little bit more. The ability to, it's the reasoning, it is the mental capability and all that forms part of your IQ. It's very hard to change it. So you will still struggle with some subjects and excel in others. It's just how it is, unfortunately. And some people have very high EQ, like Albert Einstein had very high EQ. There's another guy now in China with a very high IQ. And for you to know your IQ, you are able to take some very many tests, and there's some free ones on the internet. So if you are interested in that, it's good. On the other hand, your ability to move your emotional intelligence, you can do it 100% if you are aware of your weaknesses and your strengths. There are many ways of doing that. You can do personality tests, which are again free on the internet. There's some which are paid, and I'm sure maybe at your workplace, maybe you use those tools, the Hogan tools, the MBTI, the Clarity 4D, the Leadership Cycle. All those helps you to understand who this person is. The other day I saw another one, what is it called? The Standout. all these tools that you can use to understand who this person is. And I see organizations using that a lot during recruitment. So to actually know the personality of this person and what really is their strengths and where areas of weaknesses, so that when we work with them, we do understand how to support them. I think that's the general trend of understanding the person who's coming to work with us, to understand who they really are. And if they have this weakness, how are we going to accommodate them? Are we able to accommodate them at our place of work? Are we able to support them in getting better at it? And how do we continue capitalizing on their strengths? It's as simple as that. In fact, if anything, once we understand that, we can as well come and say, Sasa, this webinar is completely enclosed, because then that's what we are trying to find out. And then that's why we keep on saying, the more we work with you, the more we deepen that trust at the workplace, because we're understanding each other, we're interacting with each other. Okay, so that ability. So there's that area of intelligent quotient, which is the IQ, which you have very little chance of, if any, to improve, but you're able to improve your emotional intelligence by asking people, how am I? The feedback that we are always sometimes scared of picking and saying, who am I? How do I appear? How did I act? And being able to see, I will take this feedback and be able to improve myself. On the other hand, again, we know there are other intelligence that have come up now, like there's the social intelligence, how you interact with other people at social setting, all those things. And we keep on saying your network is your net worth. So that's why I even started saying that it's important for us to be able to interact in these webinars and to be able to see who we are and to be able to move forward. So moving on, let's look at each one of it. Each one of these. Self-awareness, the ability to recognize how you're feeling and how you're feeling that way, and how that impacts your behavior and that of others. How you're feeling today, how you recognize your feelings. And what are feelings? Anyone would like to tell us what feelings are? Feelings, how you feel, how you're feeling today. Feelings, our internal emotions. Feelings. And sometimes because we are so rushed to produce results for the business, sometimes we get impatient. A feeling could be a feeling of impatience, a feeling of judgmental, just feeling of anxiety, all those kind of feelings. How are you feeling is your self-awareness. How am I bringing? And sometimes, in the organization, we come and say, hey, I want to go and see the boss. And then when you go to that department and say, how's the boss? How's the mood of the boss today? Can I see the boss? Because then maybe if we interact with them and there are people who we cannot really place their feelings, their moods from time to time, would be hesitant. And that's why we are coming and saying this webinar is so important and so timely, because it's talking about us and how we interact with other people at the place of work. And if we don't take stock and find ourselves as individuals, and if the other person does not do that, and the other person, the 300 of us in an organization, or however many you are, or however few you are, will never be able to come and be our authentic self at the workplace. So the ability to recognize how you're feeling, and I'm not saying that we will not feel different. We are supposed to feel the same way every day, happy, mellow, hopeful, a feeling on top of the world, ability to deliver at 100%. No. That's not how human beings feel. If anything, right now, at the workplace, there's a lot of stress. And that stress has been brought by many other factors, especially external factors, based on the fact that, and we have to recognize that and to see how we are supporting people through our wellness programs, if we have any, is now the taxes are too much. And HR is also saying you have to take home a third of your salary. Well, we have no control over taxes. We know that that has had a big impact on people's emotional well-being, because maybe you have a loan, you have these obligations, you're not being able. There's a lot of erosion on people's earnings because of the many taxes that have been moved. And that's a conversation that is being had at the workplace right now, because it can work on people's emotions and self-regulation. People feel frustrated, people feel anxious, they're not being able to do it. And what happens is that productivity drops. And on the converse, when productivity drops, it also means that the organization is not able to meet their obligations. So it's a spiral effect in terms of what it is. So how we regulate that and how we are able to do so is very important. The other thing is that the self-awareness factor is that the emotional well-being of a person is also very important because of how the organization supports us in terms of when business environment is difficult. We know that it's now been brought to the public domain. I was watching news yesterday that there's some organizations which are considering laying off their people, and a large amount of people. And that could cause hesitation. And you looking back and saying, how is my organization performing? Will I still have a job? And we know that which organization, G4S, a big organization, laid 400 people off. It's a big one. Copia laid off people. The whole company was laid off 1,600 people. Another company is Tile and Carpet, which we saw in the news yesterday, is planning to lay off his people, has sent out a notice. These are things that can cause anxiety around us as in a business, and come and say, is our organization doing well? And what should I know? Is there anything that should concern me? And if you have anything that would concern you, then it also means that, again, what should I do? Should I be concerned? How is my productivity? Will I be the one to be let go? So you start having those overthinking. And what should be the organization be doing? Maybe giving you the reassurance that everything is okay. We are still going concerned. We are doing well, and making sure that our productivity still remains the same. So all this, the emotional state of someone has a big bearing on how the work that they produce, and the level and the capacity and the quality of work that they produce at the workplace. So it's important for us to be able to know that. So I would like you to think through about self-awareness and the self-regulations of who you are over the next 1 week. And you can take these notes available on the website of ACHRP. You can go in and log in and check. Over the next 1 week, record your strongest emotion you experienced each day. Beside each emotion, write down your accompanying bodily sensation and thoughts. How am I feeling? If it's a happy emotion, what makes me feel? Why did I experience that happy emotion? Is it because my boss told me I did a real styling good job and I was recognized? And how did you feel? Write it down. And then in a final column, write down how you became aware of that feeling. That is, did you recognize the emotion as it occurred, become aware of it through a bodily sensation, or become aware of it through your thoughts? And a feeling of happiness, there's a lightness of your body, you feel whatever. Or is it through an emotion saying, I feel happy today, And it could be an emotion of frustration, because maybe your colleague did not do the work that they were supposed to have done, and now it's affecting your work in terms of being able to move forward. And how do you recognize that? How do you feel? Is it the sense of, I feel like banging the table and whatever? So to become more self-aware of who you are and how you digest those emotions and what happens to them as you move forward. So start to self self-regulate. We know that there are many emotions, and there are people who are some of the things that we catch people up with at the workplace, even when they say, and I think that's still a very relevant question when recruiters ask people. So, what are your key strengths and what are your areas of weaknesses or areas of improvement? And people will come and say, okay, turn their strengths into weaknesses. Fair enough. I think that is okay. There's no problem with that. But I like to think of facing it head on because you know you are the only one who knows your intrapersonal self of coming and saying, I'm a perennial procrastinator. You know, I always procrastinate, and that is an area that I know I need to improve on. And this procrastination has cost me opportunities and has cost me ability to be recognized. For example, I'm a very impatient human being, another one. And this impatience has cost me this and this and that. Self-awareness of who you are. Because, and at what points are these, how do you manifest your impatience? Is it through some situations or is it through people? You know, and it comes out and you're not able to temper your impatience and people feel so off-put by you because of who you are, okay? They could also, another one, I'm always so judgmental. I'm always, anything, even if it's negative, even if it's positive, everybody's swimming upstream. I'm the only one always swimming downstream. Anything small ignites a reaction, even if it was okay. Let's do, this year we'll have an end of year party, a good thing. And the end of year party will be at the boardroom. Why at the boardroom? Why can't we go to which is fine. Why can't we go to a hotel? And we all know that the company has not been doing well the whole year, and people are welcoming a party, you know, a get together. But you're always looking at, then why should we even have it if we don't have the money? There is a good thought of us coming together. You know, you're always highly opinionated, judgmental, you know, those kind of weaknesses. And we know people can be able to do that and stuff like that. So that is important. So those are some of the things. So when you become aware of who you are, you're able to self-regulate and be able to move on. Assertiveness, we talked about it. And people don't like to work with aggressive people, not at all. While assertiveness is an extremely good trait to have and a good whatever, you must also know how to use the assertiveness. Assertiveness is to be able to communicate clearly with thought and be able to defend your position without overbearing, without feeling that other people feeling that you are always overbearing. Assertive. This is my stand, without being mean, without being like, even if you are the head of the institution, or because you yield power, and the distance of power can be very, very big between you and the other people. Your assertiveness must be able to be felt like it's the presence that really brings you to concluding things that need to be concluded with conviction and with humility at the same time. Because some people have very strong voices. Some people talk very firmly. While your demeanor will say everything about it. You know, how your demeanor, your personal disposition and stuff like that needs to be very well aligned. Your mannerism, those are some of the things that people talk about you when you're not in the room. That reputation that I talked about is very important. So while assertiveness is extremely important and you don't need to be aggressive at all, you need to tone it down to being assertive, it's important for you to be able to position yourself for success. There's some people who have very good presence. They walk into a room and they command presence. Imagine if Obama was to walk into this room today, into our webinar. He commands a lot of presence just because of who he is. Think about Obama right now. His presence, his ability to communicate, convince others, his body language, his ability to extend an olive branch when other things it's not working in the other camp and bring it together. And we all know other people, even in our country, whose presence is very well felt when they walk into a room and you feel, well, I'm looking forward to what they are going to say. So that is important. And it's something that you can actually master and bring to the fore because everybody has something to say. There are tools to be able to express your thoughts, feelings, and defend your ground. So they could be tools like going if you feel that you're not very good at expressing yourself, communicating, maybe you are shy, you have a point, but you don't know how to bring it out. There are things like Toastmasters. Yeah, you can join a class of Toastmasters, which really helps you in your communication. You can help your friends. You can communicate. You can practice through your friends. You can also come and say, "I am this year. One of the things that I really want to do is to support myself in the area of public speaking and take up projects at the workplace." And little by little, you're there. And I'm sure maybe if you're a recruiter, I won't assume that all of us are in HR, far from it. I just want to think around if you have been in an interview panel where a candidate has come and they have taken ownership of their presence through how they answer their questions, how they interact, how they engage, just everything. And then you say, that was a good candidate. They really took control of the interview. And you say, well, I think it's someone that we would want to consider alongside. So all those things, how do you communicate and how you bring yourself? So assertiveness, as it's explained there, the ability to clearly express your thoughts and feelings, stand your ground, and defend your position. On the contrary, it's very different from being highly opinionated, where you are always on the other side of the divide and whatever. So being assertive, being able to look at things differently, and capability of also coming and saying, if everybody is looking at things on this way, who am I not to change? Even the good book said it's only a fool who does not change their thoughts. Okay, so what do we also want to say? What I like about this seminar today is ability for you to be challenged and take away some very good thoughts around what we are discussing. Assertiveness. Over the next 2 weeks, even before we get into the holiday season, because I know from December, everybody is really out to do something. Write down regrets where you have behaved assertively, passively, and aggressively, and list down the self-talk that accompanied each. Passively, you know what we've been called as Kenyans, that we are passive aggressive. What is passive aggressive? Anybody would like to we have a passive aggressive nature. Passive aggressive. It happens. Some cultures at the workplace are like that. So passive aggressive, where you're not saying, but you want to say. You're just passive. You're there. Wacha tuone vile itawafanyika. Those ones over. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the bomb to explode. I already said it, but you didn't say it loud enough. You didn't say it with the kind of your thoughts, standing your ground. You're defending your position. Again, it emanates from the kind of culture that is in an organization, that maybe you're not given an opportunity to be who you are and to be able to push back with reason. So passive aggressive nature an example would come like this. We go to a meeting and there's the head of the department or the CEO addressing and saying that this is how we would like to do this work. and they are convinced that this is how, or they've just made a directive. This is how it's going to be done, and we should continue with it like this. And people, mambo kwa ground is different. Actually, if I was to summarize it, is things on the ground are different. And people around the room, I asked, are there any suggestions? Are there any concerns? Anybody would like to say anything different or weigh in this matter? And nobody speaks up. Nobody. And then the leader is happy, things that they've communicated, and everybody is happy. People take their files and go. Metoka mkutano, all of us pick their files and we go and form our kamkunji around there. We regroup, and that regrouping always has very different conversations. You can relate with me. Again, it talks about the kind of culture that we have created at the workplace. So there is no way that we're able to do what? We're able to do things differently that are because we have not been given that ability and the environment has not been accorded to us for us to be able to be very clear in what we are doing. So passively, what are some of the things that you have been able to think through in a very passive way without voicing them? Aggressively. Sometimes they come out aggressively. After all, it's my way or the highway, especially if you're a leader, or even some people just antagonize people all the time in the organization, and we know them. The question is that I always ask, why don't we just call them out, and why don't we speak? People even in the organization, always antagonizing others. Why don't we call them out, and why don't we speak? What stops us from doing that? I've been talking for the last 1 hour now. Someone please talk and tell me something. People at the workplace, we are trying to look for solutions here. Why? And what can we do? Anyway, maybe sometimes the organization does not accord that opportunity. Yes, Beth?
Maybe depending on the work environment, the staff, everyone wants to protect their job and their duties. And by speaking out, you may, cross paths and rub shoulders the wrong way. At the end of the day, everyone wants to work in an environment in peace. And as long as it's not their business and they're just doing their work, some people may not feel that they should be involved that much because maybe come directly to them. So, and even as a company, if there isn't such a policy in place that maybe you can voice your concerns through, or you can channel your concerns through a certain office or a certain approach, people will not do it. And even if it's there, at the end of the day, they may be afraid that they will be, like you're saying, antagonized. And there's something we call constructive dismissal to a situation whereby you can really be frustrated in your job because of voicing something out until you opt to resign or leaving because of you directly speaking about what is happening, which is not correct. So at the end of the day, people are mindful of their pockets. People want to secure their positions. And if you're not ready for such circumstances, you just decide not to be bothered and continue with what you're doing.
It's true. You've said it so well, Beth, that we really, what it boils down to, and I have seen it for the 30 years I've been in practice. You can count my age backwards now. So I just keep saying, one of the things is that the workplace is not our home. And why? And on the flip side is that we say we spend so much time at the workplace. Why is it then not home? We spend all that time there.
The workplace is not home, yes.
No.
But at the end of the day, you've been you're working for somebody.
Yeah.
As you spend your many hours there, it's not the home, because anywhere that money is involved, where there's transaction of money and you're exchanging services there, even if you're spending many hours, that can never be your home. It's just because there's an exchange taking place, you're rendering your services, and you need the money so you can go home with it and build your life and yourself. And at the end of the day, it's a business. The employers are in business, and we always say it's nothing personal, it's just business. So
Yeah, nothing personal.
is that this is an organization, things have to be managed. The employers have to make sure things go the way they want. They have a certain target, they have a certain vision. You have to be part of that, you have to be part of that objective. So it is actually us to align ourselves. I'm not disputing that there can be things off here and there, but it's a very, what can I say, it's sort of a dilemma, and there's a very thin line also up to when you organization can allow such voices to be heard, and whether, we all talk about transparency, equal opportunity employment, but I think it's also a question of how practical are these things in the workplace? How practical are they on the ground, or it's just a formality? So these things are there, they are happening, and I think one of the reasons why I partook in this training is because of the emotional intelligence, and I think it comes very well in place how you can manage yourself amidst all this, web of emotions, whether your voice has been heard, whether something has been done, it has been done the wrong way. It's just how to best manage yourself, even when your requests have not gone through or they have not been accepted this time. From an employee perspective, if I can just say, I taught myself, whichever way it goes, you just do your best, whichever way it goes. As long as and you should be as as objective as possible to ensure that also you're talking about aggressiveness, even as much as it may be on the part of the employer and the managers to the employees. Also on the side of the employees, it really depends on how they approach a certain issue and how they bring it up to the management, not as in a form rebellion or aggressiveness, but there's a very professional approach to bring about concerns, I think, which it goes both ways. It goes both ways. So, and emotional intelligence plays a big part whenever there are situations such as this, which have no clear boundaries, how to, manage yourself, how to voice them out, how to receive the feedback without causing disturbances, which at the end of the day, without causing disturbances, because at the end of the day, everyone has to work and be productive.
Very true. You couldn't have put it any better, Beth, in terms of it's a two-way traffic. How do we self-regulate ourselves at the workplace? And who's the employer? We keep asking, who is the employer, by the way? The owner of the business, of course, is the employer, the one who came up with this business, they innovated, and that's the employer. On the other side, there is the expert that the employees are bringing into place. So that meeting of mind, this in between is where that we've never been able to really figure it out completely. We figure it out through policies, through procedures, through the culture, through the strategy, through the programs that we bring at the workplace. And that's what we want to concentrate on. If we know the business, because why do businesses exist? Businesses exist to provide a certain service or good services, whatever. They could be goods, they could be services, whatever they are. And in turn, they also want to maximize on profits. That's the whatever. And then, of course, now we've brought all these other layers of sustainability, the ESG component of all that is now very, very, very high. The other day, IFRS put up a business sustainability requirement for businesses. So I'm saying that we need also HR, if in the workplace, as people in this seminar, we need to keep up with all these happenings at the workplace. But now we have seen that victimization as aggression is that I come and look and say, what is good for me in this organization? How am I going to protect myself? If I'm going to spend a lot of hours here, and this is the environment that I find myself in, it's a perfect environment, I love it, well and good. Let's talk about the toxic work environments, which I still need this job. I still need to put bread and butter in my home. How do I protect my own mental health? And this employer who is not very good and who's not very responsive to people's needs and wants, and that's why we still have those organizations, unfortunately, because people will not call them out. Even if they are called out, they still behave the same way and stuff like that. So the new talk in town right now, and please put it down, is culture is experienced and lived through your supervisor. I can tell you for a fact. And it all boils down to emotional intelligence. That you could have a perfect culture, and that's anyone who wants a thesis for their MBA, for their PhD, for their degree, whatever you are doing, it's a fantastic topic right now to research on. You could have a very good culture. The top management is trying everything. We give bonus, we give interesting work, we give tea and coffee. We have employer those programs, EVPs and stuff. Our brand is all high. But let me tell you, if you don't have a good supervisor looking after you, you will not experience that good culture. You will come and say, what? You guys, whatever? No. So that is why everybody needs to understand what emotional intelligence is and how to regulate it and how to make sure that we are supporting everyone in the organization. And of course, sometimes that aggression, why we don't speak out, like what Beth said, other things would be around. This person has been brought by the top management. I can't touch them. There's nothing I can do. Even if I'm the supervisor, let me protect my job. Let me do the best that I know. At 5, I take my jacket, I go home. There's nothing that I can add. This person, we found them there. They've been here for 40 years. Everybody swears by them. I will not do anything. This person is our rainmaker. They are the best salesperson. If we lose them, there's nothing we can do, and continues to antagonize everybody. So there are many things that we see, and these are things that whatever. But if everybody was able to self-regulate themselves, be able to have a better society, actually a better society. So in the next 2 weeks, we are saying that how will you be able to see how you behave? Is it assertively? Is it passively? Is it aggressively? For situations where you behave passively, dispute and debate the self-talk that interfered with your being assertive. For situations where you behave aggressively, dispute and debate and talk that led you to act in such a behavior. I gave her an example of passive-aggressive, and sometimes as Kenyans we've been told we are passive-aggressive, and sometimes we can also encounter aggressive people. And these things sometimes happen. Look at people in a queue. How Kenyans queue, especially if we know that we are supposed to queue and give services, or even in traffic where people want to overlap and stuff like that. Aggressive behavior. That's really aggressive behavior. The queue is moving, but we still want to push in. Even giving people personal space is not there. So examples like that are important for us to say. Thank you. So feel free to weigh in. Independence. As I said, the ability to be self-directed learners. You walk up today and say, I want to attend this seminar. You are a self-directed learner who takes ownership of their own learning and building their own knowledge. So the ability to be self-directed and self-controlled in your thinking and actions, and to be free from emotional dependency. Independent people are self-reliant in planning and making important decisions. I pause there and say, are you a self-directed individual? And independence does not mean that you work as an island. You still need other people to be able to support you, but you have clarity of thought in making decisions. I'm telling you, another weakness that leaders have and they've not been able to master is ability to make decisions. Never wanting to make decisions. I don't want. It actually frustrates people a lot. A lot. People want to work with people who are independent, ability to make those decisions, make that decision, and be very clear that you can defend that decision. And the decision also does not mean that the decision will be right, but you feel that this is the best decision at this time to be able to unlock the stalemate that will be there. It might not be popular with everyone, but you're able to come and say, I am taking that decision and I'm happy to live with the consequences. That's also one thing that people need to be aware of, that I'll make this decision, I'll be able to live with the consequences. So a good leader is a leader who takes decision for the good, the bad, and the ugly, and still be able to take that responsibility. So you will see that I will reference the person and I will reference the workplace in terms of how to make it ideal when we are working together. Because now, again, the new currency at the workplace is collaboration. How are we collaborating with each other? So the ability to be independent, even as you're working, are you able to do your work independently because you've understood it? And many a times is when people do not understand because it's full of ambiguity. The employer has not fully defined what you're supposed to be doing. So people feel thrown off balance and they're still expected to show results and people feel bad about it. So the ability to be self-directed. Are you self-directed? Are you making decisions that you feel that others can rely on those decisions? Are you making your own decisions to feel that you can move forward and be able to take the next stride to be able to move forward? So self-regard, the ability to appreciate your perceived position, perspectives, and possibilities, as well as to accept your negative aspects and limitations and still feel good about yourself. So, the three things we talked about: the cognitive self, the emotional self, the physical self. So let's say you struggle with losing weight. Okay, come here if you are feeling me, So, and we know it's been in the public domain again. I like to quote things that if I'm asked, where did you get that information from? I'm able to pick newspapers or to run clips and say, but this is what's happening, is that there was a lady who passed on away a couple of, God rest her soul and comfort the family, in terms of she went for a procedure that was trying to adjust her how she looks physically, and it went bad, and unfortunately she passed away. There are many things we don't appreciate about ourselves. Either I'm too big. I hear that you should always use the right terms. You can't call someone fat. You can't call someone big. What are the things that you can, no body shaming as it is called. You can't call someone thin. So you wonder, these names which have been said, we've always used them, now they've become bad. Anyway, that I digress. But what I'm trying to say is that if you don't accept yourself, my ears are too big, my nose is too big, my teeth are not well aligned, the self-regard, especially the physical bit, because this is how people see you. Catherine, you know Catherine, the one who puts on specs, yeah. So people will always describe you with how they know you. Catherine, the fat one, Catherine, the thin one, Catherine who walks like this with flat foot or something like that. So if you're not able to accept yourself, then you find yourself that you're not able to regulate who you are. The moment you accept yourself, how God created you, then you're able to make strides in what needs to be done. There could be circumstances, and let me tell you, all of us are one step away to disability. That's the truth of the matter. So we'll see people who don't have, are physically disabled, and stuff like that. They can speak, they can talk, they don't have legs, they don't have hands, and stuff like that. Just things happen. And sometimes they take a lot of time to self-accept. And the moment they self-accept it, the value of their life, the quality of their life and the value of their life becomes better. So that's also something in us that we need to be able to look at our limitations and say, is there anything I can do about this? Perhaps no. Perhaps no. Perhaps yes. If I'm too thin, can I try and go to the gym and lift some weights, maybe change my diet and try and add some weight? On the converse as well, it's opposite. If I'm too big, I know that it's not good for my health. I feel bad about it. I try, then I don't try hard enough. It's about self-discipline. Self-regard is all about self-discipline from a physical point of view. So our ability to accept our negative aspects and say, what can I do? What can I change? And if I'm not able to change, what can I do? So today, let me ask you, how much do you like yourself? Everybody loves themselves. There's no way that you do not love yourself, but some people do not love themselves. And that's a place where we need to be aware of. If you don't love yourself, there must be an underlying psychological aspect that is disturbing you, that also can lead you to death by suicide. Again, look at the way terms have changed. It's not they died of suicide, they died by suicide, they died of suicide. Now we are saying no, they committed suicide. Now they are saying they died of suicide. Last week or 2 weeks ago, unfortunately, someone threw themselves off from the 20th floor of a building in town. I don't remember the name, but it was by the time you are thinking of doing that, is that your self-regard, your self-worth is really waning, and there must be some underlying challenges or problems that you need to address. So today, how much do you love yourself? What are your greatest strengths? For example, loyalty, self-humor, good negotiating skills, friendliness, honesty. So who are you? If people ask, who are you? Or, oh, I'm a good negotiator. I am good at solving difficult problems. I am good at supporting others' growth. So who are you really? What's your purpose in life? And what's your greatest weakness? Okay, so like what I had said, you procrastinate, you have a bad temper, you're impatient, you're judgmental, your inability to manage money, whether it is yours or whether it is for your employer, your ability, and managing money is not just the physical currency of it, is also the resources that you have. So at the workplace, you might not be managing money, but time is money. How are you managing your time? Your employer's time? How are you managing your employer's resources? Are you the kind who even when you should be printing front and back, on both sides of the page, you just decide, after all, this is not my company. It's not my mother's company. The other day, someone told me, "Ukusi kwa mama yangu." So it was something very different in terms of how they were feeling frustrated working here and stuff like that, and say, well, it's not my mom's company, so I can as well. It's nonchalant. I'll do the bare minimum, I go. So some of those things, are you the kind of, that because then 1 teaspoon of sugar is what is recommended, but you just decide, to self-regard, in terms of even trying to lose that weight, you put 2 spoons of sugar because it is available over there. You get what I mean? So just that ability to self-regulate and self-regard of who you are. What do you consider as your single greatest strength? What do people know about you, and you know you about yourself, and it's the one strength that would save the whole world? That's always what I like to leave with people and say, think about it. Even as a coach, it's one of the questions that when you come to coaching, what's your greatest strength? And people will come and try and put it into, I don't know, I don't understand. And maybe say many things about them, and then we narrow it down and we find one greatest strength that they really have. And they say, that's really what makes me, and be able to move forward. We are still on the intrapersonal. Feel free to raise your hand and let me know your experiences and who you are. So self-actualization, the ability to realize your potential capabilities. This component of emotional intelligence is manifested by becoming involved in pursuit to lead a meaningful, rich, and full life. Yes, self-actualization. That's what we said. What are your dreams? What are your desires? What do you clamor to be? What have you done this year? You can look back and say, it's been a real good year. Or you look back and say, well, it's not been a good year for me, far from it, far from our business, but I continue to believe and hope that there's still a better tomorrow. And maybe those challenges, what brought about those challenges? Was I strong enough? Was I deliberate enough to come and say, I will? In this regard, I should have done better. Or there was no aspect. I tried, and I would not have done it I would not have done it any other way. So that's the self-actualization that we're talking about. Your pursuit to lead a meaningful life. What's a meaningful life? One that you feel that every day when I wake up, I'm feeling happy to pursue my goals, my dreams, and stuff like that. Rich is not about, it's the quality of life that you're able to look back and say, I have good quality life. And quality is very relative to me and you. Maybe someone will come and say, my rich life evolves around me going for a walk every evening to soak in the evening, whether it's a good vitamin D in the evening. Right now, it's maybe the weather does not allow because there are rains and stuff like that. But just being with nature, the richness that brings your life. Another one will come and say, soaking myself into a good book. I'm an avid reader, and come and say, what am I reading now? And full life. They interconnectedness with other people because we are social beings. So that full realizations of what is the meaning of life for you and how do you articulate it? That's the same thing. Why do I go to work? Why do I have to work with this many number of people in my department and accommodate them? And how will I accommodate them while still feeling that my life is meaningful and rich and full? So it is important for us to be able to look at that. So self-actualization assignment as well. How many hours per week do you spend at work, with family, with friends, alone? In which of these areas would you most like to improve the quality of your time? What are your hobbies? What are your interests? What would you like to pursue more actively? So in this area of who really you are. And let me tell you, one of the things that have really reduced in terms of connection is this thing called the telephone. The telephone has come and disrupted our lives. Even when you observe people, my God, it is fine. I'm not saying it is bad, but we know that spending a lot of time on our gadgets is not helpful. It does not rejuvenate our brain cells. In fact, if anything, it disintegrates them as quickly as it is. So things that will make you become a better human being as you grow older, they need to be more cognitive. You need maybe to sew, to do mental work, do Sudoku, crossword puzzles, things that really make you become more alert. It's not anymore. Yesterday, I went out for an activity, and this activity I was now driving through the towns from one town to another, And I was just watching the villagers do their work, and I was so admirable of them. There was a group of boys who were playing with the used tiles, car tiles, and they were pushing them, and I was saying they don't know how, they're just thinking it is just a game. They were trying to just rolling it. And I was saying, boys, please go. In my heart, I'm just saying, boys, do that for the next 1 hour. It is good enough. Because the ability to take that tile on a straight line with a stick like this builds their cognitive ability. Compared to you going on the social media streets, fair enough, you could be doing something important, but it's just that the connection. And how much time do you, even when you're spending alone, what do you do in that time? It's important for us to know. So which areas of life would you like to improve? Because it helps you in building your emotional intelligence. So that marks the end of part 1. Any question, anything that you would like to weigh in and experience at the workplace? How is it working? What is not working? What would have worked better for you? Haven't heard from Lydia, Meshach, Mire, Jane. Jane, you're here. How are you doing? Beatrice, anything that you'd like to figure out? Or just maybe support? Anything that like you? So let's go to the interpersonal realm. So what does it look like? Why is it important for us to look into that? And how do we self-regulate it at the workplace to become better employees? Well, at it, if we are also looking at it from a supervisory point of view, what would I do better? What would you consider would be the benefits if everybody was able to self-regulate their emotions at the workplace? There could be as many as we are in this seminar. What are the benefits of regulating our emotions at the workplace? Anyone? Healthier working relationships, better management of conflict. We'll be able to manage conflict better productivity, less absenteeism at the workplace, better retention, would have a better brand preposition out there. Could be many, building a strong work culture, beliefs and values. Even the people who do not, who have very glaring weaknesses, they would be able to come and say, this is something good. I think I need to learn from this and whatever. So the ability to understand who we are and regulate our emotions is a big contributor to the organization, and the results are able to be seen. Tangible results are able to be seen and to be able to be felt in the organization. I keep asking people whether we should be friends at work. People say yes, people say no. Some people say yes, I've built very good friendships over the years at the workplace. Some people say no. There's no right, there's no wrong. Some people also say that we've got a big opportunity at our workplace to bring in to be able to refer friends and to come and work with us. And that's a good thing, because you'll never refer someone who is not, doesn't have the skill set, and you feel that they would not fit and they would come and whatever, because you also know your friends. You know friends who can be able to deliver, and friends who are just Kimchezo, who are not able to do that. So let's look at the interpersonal. So we said intra, the self, what we should work on, what we know, and then there's the intra. Concerns your people skills, it's about your people skills, your ability to interact and get along with others. It is composed of 3 skills, So how do I interact? How do I show up? How do I connect with the other person? So the first heart we want to look at is the heart of empathy, the social responsibility, and the interpersonal relationship. So what's empathy? People always say empathy, putting yourself in the other person's shoes, fair enough. What if the shoes are big and smelly and hot? Do you want to do that? Still important, empathy. And empathy is a currency that is in short supply world over. In fact, if anything, I think it should be considered as a global disaster from where we sit. And progressively, we've continued to erode this component of empathy. And we'll look at it in depth and maybe if you have some examples that you'd like to give, and I'll give maybe an example that we can relate with. The world also needs to have a bit of more trust. Our levels of trust, again, seem to be eroding more and more and more. I guess it's because what the actions that people bring to the table and the actions that we see them do, that trust is very fragile right now. And without trust, then we are not able to connect, we are not able to do work. And depending on the magnitude of the belief and the support that person gives you, if they break your trust, you feel very bad about it. Right now, maybe we can say from a political front as a country, the trust that we have in our leaders is very little because of the kind of decisions that they make. And people feeling frustrated, things not going on well and stuff like that. There's a lot. I mean, when you look at the healthcare, it's one thing, the education sector is one thing, the public sector, road infrastructure is one thing. There's a lot that we need to build back that trust. And it takes a long time to build back the trust, but we are still able to do that. So there's a lot of work to be done. So when we look at empathy, there's a very big difference between empathy and sympathy. And sympathy is what we get at the workplace. And that's the truth of it. And why do we get more sympathy than empathy? Is because empathy is long-term. And nobody wants to invest in these things at a long-term basis. People, the business, the pressure, the work environment is so quick. Everything is turning. Today we were doing this, tomorrow we are doing this. I mean, by the time you're buying your phone, the manufacturer is thinking, I'm going to I'll have another model in 1 year from now. Even by the time you just think, I spent so much money on this phone, they've now released another one. What do I do? Of course, it still works, but that's how the world is. It just moves very, very fast. And how do we stop and think in terms of my emotional intelligence, bringing it to the fore at the workplace in terms of empathy? So what happens at the workplace is because we want to follow process and we don't want to be in any kind of risk with the regulator or with anyone. We want to ensure that we've done the right thing. The right thing is being done, but how does it make the other person feel? So an example of sympathy is empathy, between sympathy and empathy, is where Catherine is not performing. She was a performer, yes, but now over time, there's just something. Dropping balls here and there doesn't seem to get it right and together anymore. And what do? We give her warning the first time we try, give her different targets, only mediocre work. And we have that conversation, hey, Catherine, you're not performing well. You need to improve. So and maybe you are even specific. You are supposed to do this project in 2 weeks. You delivered it in 4 weeks. There were consequences. We lost business and stuff like that. So the next thing for the employer is to go to the HR handbook and say, how do we support this person? Or what do we do? What are the consequences? Okay, put them on a PIP. Catherine, come here. We're going to put you on a 3 months PIP. We sign off. And the first thing, I am going to lose my job. I don't know what to do. It's already bad situation. You put me on PIP. You go through the PIP. I don't improve. You give me a show cause letter because again you're trying to cover all your tracks. Fair enough, and that's the right thing to do. I'm not saying that's not the right thing to do. And finally, show cause. You terminate my employment because I'm not able to do the job as expected. Sympathy. Empathy, on the other side, would look like this. Catherine, you've been a good performer all the while. Something has drastically changed over time. We are trying to support you. Is there anything that you would like us to know that is affecting your work? And there could be consequences of you not doing your work well. And we don't want to get to that level. Empathy hat has been put on. And we are not saying you tell us right now what is the matter, could be the matter, if there is anything, but you go think about it, and we're giving you some time, think about it, maybe 3 days or something, come back to us. If not, then we will want to have a plan on how to support you. And you go thinking about it and say, this is a good employer. They are extending an olive branch. And you go back and say, hey, I got into gambling and I can't, it's taking all my money. Now I'm in debt. I don't know what to do. You break down and whatever. And the employer knows that there's a problem. How did you get into gambling? You underlying problem, or you could even be having someone sick at home, terminally ill, that a loved one, and you don't know what to do anymore and stuff like that. And the employer quickly engages and puts on their empathy hat and say, how can we support you? While you know that you still need to perform, now let's look for a solution around where the problem that you're facing, and we work around it. So working and asking what is the problem compared to saying, you've always been a good employer, you're not doing it, this is what we're going to do. And you see, it's long term. By the time we have all that discussion, business is still running. We still need to produce. We still need to show results. And that is why there's very little empathy, because empathy is long term. By the time you're working with your friend who has an issue, people get tired. And the first thing people, when they write their stories, is that friends abandoned me, family abandoned me. They have all good intentions. But again, maybe they also want you to snap out of it quickly. And maybe your journey of snapping out of it is very slow, and they don't have the patience to work with you. So, are you an empathetic person? Is your employer empathetic? And what can you build the muscle of empathy? Yes, you can. You can, through being more patient. Social responsibility, up to where do you see your social responsibility coming into? So the 3 P's again, because of we need to be more deliberate about our ESG initiatives. That's what's going to rule the world. And finally, we've come back to our senses, the people, the planet, and the profit. And the first one is always people, the planet that we live in, and the profit follows. But now everything is about profit. But we need to go back to the default setting and what is our social responsibility, me as a person and you as a person. If we have that that notion and that attention, then we are able to be better human beings. And it's the interpersonal relationship. How do I relate with you as a human being? We are social. That has never been highlighted more than when we had the lockdown world over around COVID, and people say, I didn't know how much I missed the social aspect of it, and now when things started easing up, people were able to connect back, and some people even went into depression because they could not be able to relate that they don't have people around and they needed help and stuff like that. Some people are more better coping than others, and the ones who are not able to cope, what kind of support was given to them? So empathy, the ability to understand what others might be feeling and thinking, It is the ability to view the world through the other person's eyes. It's that simple as that, and we know it. And how do we able to do that and to be able to bring it to the fore? I've given an example. So, empathy assignment. As someone, you know well how they feel about a given topic, given topic. When we started off this seminar, I say, instead of good morning, how are you feeling today? And know the difference in terms of that. In general, stop and listen more to others. If someone's feeling and opinions are of value to you, check to see how accurately you have understood them. Very, very important. The heart of empathy. Even with family members who are going through stuff, it's a strong sign that you are in tune of your emotions and being able to understand the other person better. Social responsibility, ability to demonstrate that you are cooperative, contributing, and a constructive member to your social group. I see many WhatsApp groups being formed and us being put in, and people now putting their settings and say, you can't invite me to a group until I accept it myself. It's fine. But how do your social responsibility and how you interact with others? There's some people who are always antagonizing others. So are you even that member of the WhatsApp group, even when you're told, oh, this group does not accept certain kind of communication because it has been put together for this objective, still going and sneaking things? Well, sometimes people are very bad in terms of removing others, but what can we do? Ability to be a constructive member of a group. The other day, I thought someone did not really have emotion. They didn't use their emotional intelligence in a way that was important. It was a group that had been set together for revision. And I like to tell this because it's related to what we are discussing. So in that group, I think someone passed away. So I think they were told, oh, someone has passed away. So let's say sorry, or let's just think about the late, in a way that whatever. And the person who started that was removed, from the group and stuff like that. Oh, okay. There's some things which it's never that serious. This has been passed in and stuff, and it will pass. Then another person said, oh, even when I'm revising for this and whatever, I've lost my mom. Oh my gosh, again, of what it is, and looking into that. And someone came and said, and they were removed from that group by the leader of that group. Very, very unfortunate, because then even you as a leader, there's some things you will understand. Things around death, it's not about we are going for a cuisine, a 5-star cuisine, in the midst of trying to study and passing an exam. Some things are just logical. We need empathy. We need to condole with that person, say, Pole. Pole will not stop us from doing what it is. I just felt, as a leader, you are overbearing, you are aggressive, you're not showing the kind of leadership that it is, even if it is your group. Again, even if it is your company, you've employed us to come and give you our expertise. Then you can as well do everything on your own. You can be the accountant, you can be the production manager, you can be the marketer, you can be the HR, you can do it. But knowing that you are not able to do it, you need other people, then you need to treat other people well. And that's the same thing at the workplace. Your ability to cooperate and contribute constructively to what the social settings are. In your notebook, write down 5 things you could do if you would be appreciated by people. That would be appreciated by people in need. What are the 5 things that you would do? Now think of one time that you would do this week to help others. Okay, good assignment. Interpersonal relation, the ability to forgo and maintain relations that are mutually beneficial and marked by give and take and a sense of emotional closeness. Is this what you feel with your colleagues, with your employer, especially the ability to have that mutual respect and mutual trust, the give and take, that you're taking a skill from me, you're paying me in return. Are you meeting your end of the bargain? And the end of the bargain sometimes is through a written contract, because those implied contracts and those implied things sometimes do not work. And we have come and seen people going to work because they say, this is what you said you will do, you did not do. And the judge asks, was there anything written, documented? No, but it's been going on for many years and stuff like that. So sometimes that does not work. Ignorance is no defense. So, but the interpersonal relationship, which we all have, the ability to be self-respecting of the other person. So respect is earned. It's a two-way traffic. Trust is built. It's a two-way traffic. How do we maintain that mutual respect for both parties? And I believe there is a real good sense of being cordial to each other. Being cordial also leads to a better outcome in terms of how we interact with each other. And those interactions are built, and sometimes we can become even friends. We build that friendship. And how do we build that friendship? It's through recognizing that this person has something to give, and I have also something to give. And also some of the little banter talks that we have. It's raining. Let's both of us enjoy farming and gardening. My flowers are blooming. We both enjoy reading. Which book are you reading? Oh, this book. Oh, do you like to get into a group book club? I've been a book club. Let's go. So some of those things are beneficial to each other. You like knitting? I also like knitting. Which websites are you looking at? Crocheting and stuff like that. Things just incrementally. And how is that done? Because at the lunchroom, we talk about different things. It's not just about work. We could talk, hey, you see that memo that was sent out? That team did well. We didn't even know that was going on. And you celebrate those small kind of wins. But there's also conversations around our likes and our dislikes, our interests, our hobbies, and slowly we start just realizing that we have the same kind of interest, and those interests really now become interpersonal relationships, and we're able to exchange more even while working with each other, building those friendships that are so well required. We know that some people find spouses at the workplace. It could be. People find business partners at the workplace. It could be, but without having, of course, making sure that there are no, the boundaries are still kept within the policies and stuff like that. So that is you. That is you now, you in totality, and the benefits of how the emotional intelligence can be built at the workplace. Any question? I pause there. We are halfway into our webinar. Anyone who would like to relate with any of those? Do you have friends? Have you created good friendships at the workplace? Do you continue to do that? Okay. Meshach, anything you would like to tell us? Or you are as good as it goes? Okay. So adaptability. There's a lot around innovation, creativity, being agile, things that people are being told you must bring at the workplace. When you look at World Economic Forum and some of the things that they talk about in terms of the skill set that will be needed in the 21st century, that even when CEOs are asked what keeps you awake at night, is they keep on saying it's about people. What about people? Ability to be creative thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, being able to be more flexible and agile. These are things that we need to work on as people to be able to move forward. So the adaptability, Rhyme says, involves your ability to be flexible and realistic and to solve a range of problems that may arise. So there are 3 scales or 3 pillars that we want to look into the adaptability. So there is the reality testing, there is the flexibility, and there is the problem solving. And I hope maybe 1 or 2 examples to give there for it to hit home. And if you have any, please feel free just to contribute. So here, we'll do a reality check. This is the reality check. You know, things are, we could plan and plan and plan. Well intended, very good planning. But when we go to execute, it doesn't go as expected. Will we feel disappointed? Of course, yes, 100%. And you have every reason to feel disappointed when you tried and tried and tried. Well, can you go back and try again? Yes, you can, because it's important for us to be adaptable and flexible. And how do we also solve problems that come our way? Sometimes we can know that, and do problems knock on the door and say, problem coming, problem is here, problem we have to solve? Sometimes not. Sometimes you will just wake up and the problem is at your door and you have to solve it. How do you solve it? With being calm and being clear, with the independence that we have talked about, and not being overreactive. Don't you just love people who are able to stay calm in the midst of a big calamity? Stay calm and say, it's here. How do we deal with it? While they are feeling it, they're empathetic. They're not masking their emotions, but let's deal with it as we go along and provide that much needed leadership. And they might not be the leader at that time, but just someone just comes up and say, and they take leadership, and everybody just says, we are glad that they were there at that time because they were able to see things differently and be able to solve the problem. So problems will come. Expect problems in whatever. I also say that each human being will not be spared pain in this world. If you're living in this world, then maybe it's whatever, but how adaptable are you again when that pain comes? There will be the pain of losing a loved one. That one, God has not hidden from us, and some of us have experienced it, or some of us are yet to experience it at that magnitude. But when it comes, who will be there to support you? And how will you be able to steady yourself? We're not saying that you mask the pain of what's going there, but during that time that things need to be done, how will you do them? It's also good to delegate. There's no reason. There's nothing bad in delegating in terms of, I'm not able to do this. How do you do that? But let's now come back to the place of work where you're supposed to show results. And that reality testing, the level of flexibility, when you are told that we need to move this way, and some people are so stuck up, they cannot, no, I'm not going. This has always been, why are you always telling us to change? Big problem. Another day, I was invited by one of the multinationals to talk to women leaders, just a very nice topic around the reality of the workplace. And this now it's really nice in terms of adaptability from employer's perspective. And we had a nice discussion and was saying, what's the reality? They say the reality is very different, Catherine, from what it is. So we wanted to introduce a coaching program. So we were just doing different things in terms of bringing it, how it would be best structured. And what really, what took me by surprise is that even these big multinationals where everybody thinks, oh, everything works and stuff like that. They say no, the pressure is the same. It's a good place to work. However, it's very different in terms of these policies that have been put here and how other people look at them when you want to use those policies. For example, one example was the maternity leave, where it's 6 months. Not ordinarily in Kenya, it's 90 days, 3 months. Then this one have said it's 6 months. Really nice. And you know what does that to a mother, a new mother? Whether you have 10 children or whether you have 5 children, this is your 6th child is the same, the kind of care that is required. But what they said is that other colleagues frown around it. You'll be away for 6 months. Even the way it is said, no kona bahati, those kind of things, they just think that the actions and reactions around it. And even like now, they've come back and they still got flexi hours to go home 2 hours before. First, the organization has said is to beat traffic and also to support your child in terms of breastfeeding or anything like that. Very deliberate policies written down, but in terms of the reality and testing of it is very, you still, those ones you take your laptop bag and your handbag and you're going, those side glances that you can see people are looking, but they're not looking. Those ones have gone from your supervisor to everybody else, and you're thinking, but it's on a policy. It's a benefit. It's my right to do. So that's the reality testing that we are talking about. That adaptability from the employer's perspective. So how have you done it? And how is the reaction of the people? And I say, if you were to put yourself in those shoes, everybody has a certain reaction, and we judge people using our own standards. That is where everything goes pararasha. Everything in the world, because we judge people using our own standard. This is my standard, and I believe in my standard. But because that will not work, it will cause chaos in the world. What now employers do is to bring in policies and procedures. So it's important for us from both parties, the realities testing, the flexibility, and the problem solving. Okay? So the reality testing, the ability to assess the correspondence between what's experienced and what objectively exists. It is the capacity to see things objectively the way they are, rather than the way we wish or fear them to be. That's reality testing, like the example that I have given. And I'm sure you can also relate with some maybe examples that you have seen at the workplace, or even you've contributed yourself. Me and you contribute to those things a lot. I'm not saying that we should watch how we say things and stuff like that, but it's important if you have a very strong opinion around it in a negative way, you need to think before I say it, how is it going to be taken? Is it going to affect the relationship that I have with these people or with this person? So that's important for us to be able to look at it. And again, the reality testing is how I see things. It's how you see is very different. And that is why we have those kind of policies to bring us together. The other thing is the ability to be flexible, the ability to adjust our emotions, thoughts, and behaviors to changing situations and conditions. This component of emotional intelligence applies to your overall ability to adapt to unfamiliar, unpredictable, and dynamic circumstances. So what's the situations that cause us to adapt quickly are some things very unseen. Because if it's already been preference that we are going to adapt. We are going to do this change. And change is the only constant. Perhaps we might be able to regulate and to see how best to support the change and to drive the change and to incorporate the change in our lives. However, if it's something just like this, snap, how flexible am I in that situation? Some people are just thrown off guard completely. And how they react and how they do things just leaves us thinking, oh, is that someone? I even feel embarrassed for them. You know, you're just thinking, oh, it's not what they should be saying. Oh my gosh, what's going to save this situation? Because, you know, it is totally out of the expected. But if we know ourselves, active of emotional intelligence, ability to self-regulate, even when a situation arises, we might come and say, give me 5 minutes to consult, I will come back. You know, the flexibility that is required, especially of a leader, is extremely important. I'll give an example here. It's maybe not a very good example for what it is. When the former deputy president was being impeached in Senate, and the day he was supposed to come for, was it being examined or to be questioned or to put himself, to put up his defense, he was taken ill. And there was a lot of conversation around him being taken ill. Ill is ill. I didn't take a position as Catherine anyway. Because also there was a lot of discussion in HR circles. What should you do this? And this happens all the time. Let us see what these legislators are going to do. But what the Speaker of the Senate did was say, give me some time to consult. Instead of just coming and saying, no, he should have been here. He knows. How come he was not sick yesterday? He was okay now. He's sick. Chill. Someone has come and said, he's not here. His lawyers have come and said whatever. So the situation, changing situations and conditions, nobody saw this. Maybe they said, I don't know. But anyway, maybe they didn't expect that. And now this is what they are pressured for time to deliver certain judgment. They are all those things. It was a good case study if you want to think about it. And how do you bring yourself to apply around unfamiliarity, unpredictable, and a dynamic circumstance? What did they do? They said, give me time off. Let's regroup. Let's take some time off. Let's go and see what he's going to do. And he gave some. He came back after a few minutes, gave some directions, and they were supposed to regroup back. So how flexible are you as a person? There's some people who are extremely inflexible that you even fear how they will react even before you think it's even good for them, but they will always not be that flexible in terms of that. A simple thing is that a few years ago, in my younger days, when I was trying to reorganize the office, which I should have done better, and when I think about it, I always say maybe whatever. We just decided, and it was the right thing, but without now involving everybody. We said we need to reorganize the offices, and job families need to sit together. We know job families, of all HR people, instead of being in that floor, in this floor, why don't we reorganize the same organization, whatever project people, job families, maybe finance, admin, HR people, there's some semblance of order. We wanted to bring order, well-intended, well thought. And we said, people, okay, this looks like whatever. And when we had done that, and one of the people came and said, no, I'm not moving. I'm not moving. I've always sat here. And they gave reasons. And we were just like, such a simple thing. It's rather obvious. No, it's not obvious for everyone. So even in this flexibility, while you are required to adjust, the other person who's making those changes need to also maybe ask, will this it's recommended and stuff like that, so that even when they are hard of adjusting, they find it difficult to adjust, they can be able to understand where the adjustment is needed and maybe make that whatever. Anyway, we all ended well. They moved, and again, if we want to make other people happy, maybe put in some brownie things like in terms of what needs to be done. Try and support people with maybe new furniture, new office, new blinds, stuff like that. If you can be able to, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but over and above, what can you do to make people feel that they've been uprooted from where they've always been to something different? Problem solving, the ability to identify and define problems, as well as to generate and implement potential effective solutions. Problems will come. They will knock at your door, least expected time, like what we have said. But how are you going to adjust those problems and adjust your sales when the wind is too strong? How do you adjust the sales to make sure that the wind is able to, the sales are able to protect you from the strong wind, if you're able to do that? What's your thought process around solving problems? And it speaks a lot into your independence and cognitive capability. Repeat again, independence and cognitive capability. You are reasoning that this problem is stemming from this, and this is where we need to go. How best are we able to adjust that, whatever? And problems will come, challenges will come. You're head of sales, for example, and we are not meeting our targets. And everybody is looking at you, and we are not able to close payroll. That's a big problem in an organization. And because maybe the environment has changed, your customer base has shifted, there are many things. But how do you solve that problem to be able to ensure that your goods and processes, as maybe for a meeting, come and debate, come and brainstorm, reinvent, adapt, lower your prices and stuff like that. The market is very competitive, and I like it now because when I go to the supermarket, when I look at when I'm shopping and I go to buy flour, I see this brand. I like the fact that maybe they can lower the prices for me, for the consumer, and I come and say, this is the cheapest unga, come we go home, because then unga is unga. There are some people who are very brand loyal. They'll come and say, this is the only brand I will buy, no matter how expensive it is. I'm a more of a price sensitive shopper, where I come and say, is there to a certain extent to some things, but it works the same brand, same quality, I feel, let's go. If I can save money, we're all out to save our hard-earned money. So that's the same thing in terms of solving problem. What kind of clarity and what thought process do you follow in solving that problem? It will call you to have very strong emotional intelligence, apt use, and being able to demonstrate that at the workplace, and you will be more of a leader that is called upon, and everybody is a leader in their own right. It's just the level of responsibility that everybody has. So let's embrace in terms of how do we solve problems and how do we bring our emotions in solving problems. Some people will throw their toys off the court and make sure that this problem is amplified, even if it's a small problem. Make a mountain out of a molehill, we know those ones. But if we contain the problem, we'll find that we have better results in getting to solve it, okay? So stress management, who is not under stress? Who's closing the financial year right now? If your calendar year is January to December, then you know what's happening right now. almost nobody is seeing eye to eye in terms of the planning that is taking place, the budgets. You have to look at people's evaluations and stuff like that. There's a lot going on right now. The board meetings that will make critical decisions for next year. So it's one thing after the other. The stress levels can be extremely high at the workplace because of the kind of work that is supposed to be delivered. How do we cope with stress as an individual? And what is stress? Stress is anything that you're not able to handle, that is out of your control. There is high level of stress, and that is unacceptable. And the stress that makes you remain on your toes. While the word stress has been a bit, not a bit, has been misused, we need to bring it back to the level in what we are discussing now, emotional intelligence at the workplace. People will always throw that word. I'm so stressed, I'm stressed out. I don't have enough time. There'll never be enough time, unfortunately. Let me be the bearer of bad news. This person is stressing me. I don't know what to do. So there's always something. There's always a stressor. But you need to find out what is the trigger of that stressor. Your lack of planning and coordination, all those things we say in management, controlling, coordination, planning, I don't know what those things, you need to be aware of them so that you identify what would be the stressors. If you're not able to produce work and give out the work as it would be, what would be the thing that would stopping you from doing it so that you are able to produce or give out the work at the required time? So those stressors and triggers. And stressors and triggers, the stressors could be from the environment, it could be from your colleagues, it could be from your supervisor, it could be from your family members, it could be from anything, just even thinking that you're not able to meet your daily obligations is a big stress on itself. Again, I was supporting an organization to recruit for persons living with disability. So being very sensitive and aware of people living with various disabilities. So I met this great candidate. And I asked them, so what are some of the challenges, and what would you call as stress in or what's reasonable accommodation? And say it's really stressful trying to come to work on a wheelchair. It would be, and because then the people at the bus stop, the bus driver and the conductor will not stop and say, fold my wheelchair, bring it in, climb the stairs. They would have been in the next stage or 2 stages out. And that's a big stress for her. And it really scares her that she can use public transport. So for that kind of a person, you have to think, if you want to have their skill set in the organization, it's have to maybe give them more money to accommodate her using private transport if they don't have a vehicle, or just accommodate it will stress your budget. To be able to accommodate. If you had X amount of money, it means now you'll have to look for a budget to accommodate that. So stressing now that budget to accommodate it is a headache. But how do you now make sure that you're able to accommodate those kind of things? And really, what stresses you? Some things will stress you out of your control, some things that you have control, and you need to make sure that you're able to cope. So stress management concerns your ability to tolerate stress and to control impulses. So there are 2 pillars or 2 scales around it, is your stress tolerance and your impulse control. Okay, so let's look at both of them. So your stress tolerance, up to where? There are some people who have higher threshold. There are some people who have lower threshold. We also know there are some people who have, like when we say, some people have higher threshold of pain. If you pinch them, they can still, they are not as, some people you pinch them even a little bit, they squeal and they cry out aloud. You know, that's the same. The ability to withstand adverse effects and stressful situations without falling apart by actively and positively coping with the stress. Whether that stress has just, that event has just happened, an adverse effect, or it is ongoing, it's already now here. What do we do? Our sales are dwindling. We have to eat into our reserves. It's an ongoing one until, let's say you are a donor-funded organization and you've been writing proposals and nothing is coming. The responses and the awards are not coming. Now you have to start thinking of eating into your reserves. That's a stressful situation as an organization. How do you cope? And then on the flip side is that maybe you as a person is that there is something that has just, one of your loved family members has been diagnosed with a chronic illness. How do we cope with that over a period of time, knowing that the long-term care might be required, and also by the time they get well, there will be a lot of resources that might be required for you to be able to whatever. How are you able to cope positively with that kind of stress? The one-time occurrence, you can be able to come and say, oh, okay, this has happened. How do I cope in this situation? It's so dire. It's the situation is so magnitude, but how am I able to cope? It has a direct relationship with your emotional intelligence. So it's important for us to understand our personality, our DNA, how we want to deal with it, because then it will manifest in the way that we react. Some people are better placed at handling stress. Some people are not better. They will keep shouting. They will make everybody feel as if we are the ones who have caused this stress and pass with everybody along the way like an avalanche. And that comes a lot with people who feel that they have absolute power. They're not able to see that even if I have power, how do I use my power? The owner of a company, whether it's a big or a small SME, a business, how do you treat people in terms of when you have stress? How do you relate? Everybody knows the stress here is not good. We have to think differently. By the time you're thinking, you're coming and addressing people as if they don't matter. So your ability to cope with stress is a reflection of the kind of person that you are. The more you're able to self-regulate yourself, the more better you're able to think with clarity, and you are able to come up with decisions to able to handle the situation and to cope with the situation going forward. Stress tolerance includes having a repertoire of suitable responses to stressful situations. It is associated with the capacity to be relaxed and composed and to calmly face difficulties without getting away with strong emotions. Any public figure that comes to mind when you think about ability to handle stress tolerance? Any public figure? Not in any quarters, whether corporate, anyone, or someone who's not also, okay, on the flip side, someone who is not able to deal with stress. Anyone? When I look at the Chief Justice, yeah, okay. Yes, Khadija.
I wanted to say, even if he's late, but I think Bob Collymore really handled stress quite well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was able to be very endearing to people. He had a very strong people engagement. He was very people centric, even in the public and stuff like that. He was able to. He had presence. He had a good demeanor. I agree. I also see the Chief Justice. I think there's a lot thrown her way, and in terms of the responsibility of the position that she holds, the different opinions held by everybody, including me, that you should, if I have this opinion in the public gallery, everybody has an opinion around justice, the whole justice situation of what needs to be done. But I think even the way she projects herself, the way she articulates matters, pushing back and stuff like that, I sometimes see that she's able to handle the stress pretty well. Anybody else would like to give reference? Even if it's you, come and say, it's me. I do it very well. So that ability to be able to be straight, still holding it all together is important. Impulse control, impulse buying. The ability to resist or delay an impulse, drive, or temptation to act. Impulse control entails the capacity for accepting your aggressive impulses, being composed and controlling aggression, hostility, or irresponsible behavior. Bias, remorse. It's a lot here. Impulse. This is how I'm going to react. Being tempted not to. Very different from stress tolerance, whatever. But this has now found me. I think a good example would be see a mother who loves the child so much at the supermarket, and the child really wants a toy or a sweet or a chocolate. And the mother is just trying to think, oh my gosh, everybody is watching us now, this scene. How do I control myself? And some parents are more composed and say, no, or maybe take this child aside and say, maybe this, I've always told you, if you go to the supermarket, this is how you behave, or something. Or some will pinch in everybody's view and glare, and stuff, So how do we just control? And sometimes I keep saying the best way in terms of to control, and it has worked for me, for impulse control, is to be able to, the way we say, what decisions should I make when I'm happy, when I'm unhappy, when I'm excited? Let me first think through it. When that emotion has died down, now when I'm happy and when I'm controlled, let me see what I want to do. If I don't need to make a decision there and then, what I will do is sleep over it and come back the following day. If I still feel the same, then I know I'm making a good decision. But every time then I'm trying to make a decision based on the emotions and what I'm feeling right now, and maybe you'll all agree it's normally not the right one. And especially if it's one that really is aggressive, and feel out of control and out of touch, that always bears bad consequences in future, either immediately or even in future. So our ability to be able to control, resist, or delay, it's like delayed gratification. Impulse buying, when you go home, it's a bias, remorse, and it's just I really didn't need it. I should have said no in terms of stuff and that and whatever. A good example is a a friend of ours sells books. So motivational books, they write. You know, the effort that goes with writing, it's a lot. So, and brought their books at a certain event where we were. And of course, you think that this will be a good place for people to buy books and stuff. It's a good thought, and it's nothing bad about it. And then took it to one of my friends, and my friend was very clear and saying, "Unfortunately, I won't buy the book because I don't have money, and secondly, I might not. It's not a priority right now." Truthful, very truthful of what it is. The other people I saw buying because of they were a friend and stuff like that. I would like now to ask my friends who are in that whatever, how many of them have read, or you just bought and kept it there, stuff like that. So even it's your best friend or something, they need to be reason. And as we become more mature with our emotions and our ability to be able to say yes and no, many a times is when we are not able to say no, which works against us. It's we need to learn how to say no. I think it's really it's good, and there's nothing wrong in saying no. No, I have too much work on my plate. I'm not able to take it because then I will be disappointing everyone. I think it's good enough to say no, and not be frowned upon when you're saying no. So that we need to get there. So that impulse, yes, I will take it, just because then I'm afraid of saying no. Then the culture does not allow us to say no. I'll be frowned upon. I'll be victimized. I already have my plate full, but just being able to say no and maybe just back it up with reason, then people will be able to stay to be able to respect your position. Okay. I find that when you start out on your career journey, you're not able to say no, but as you progress, then you become more self-aware of who you are, of the environment, and not just saying no because no is a complete answer. No, it's not. You need also to show no and how we can be able to accommodate this request. Maybe give a suggestion. Nothing ever hurts, you know. That's the time that who is your sponsor comes back. You know, when you're always positive and be able to give reasons and accommodate other people, then when things are being done and opportunities are being sought for, if there are few in the organization, people will raise up your hand for you and say, this is the person to come and be able to support us. Okay. So over the next 1 week, pay close attention to your anger or frustration as it begins to build, monitoring and understanding your feelings and self-talk. Debate and deputize dispute at time, if you can, in any case later than the day. Summarize your incidences in a notebook and see whether your efforts allowed you to get a better handle of your emotions. It's everything about emotions. And remember, the world goes round because we treat people using our own standards. If we didn't do that, then the world might be a better place. Okay. Making good use of our time right now. I would like us to go to the last one. The first one was, if you remember, the very first one, there'll be a small quiz, and maybe then we'll give a prize at the end of the seminar. The emotional intelligence framework we started with. Interpersonal, and then we went into the adaptability, and then we went to the stress management, and now we want to look at the final one, the general mood. What's mood? What's a mood? Why are moods so important in our lives? I'm in a bad mood. I'm in a good mood. What's a mood? And what are some of the factors that affect our mood? A lot has been done about moods, and there are several moods that with the Ekman's theory, if you are whatever. Okay. So moods are just emotions which are more stronger than the other, Moods are general, intense. They could be how we are feeling and stuff. And what comprises of moods are the biological factor, your hormones, control your moods, the psychological factor, your personality will contribute to your moods, and the environment, how the environment is structured around will also control your mood. So let's say you left the house and you are going to work. You're going to work, and outside the supermarket where maybe the bus stop is, everybody, the supermarket decided that they are going to give everybody what? They're going to give everybody a packet of small juice or whatever. And definitely lifts up your mood, leave whether juice is healthy or not. That's far from it. Just the fact that the general environment, everybody has gotten something, it's really nice. On the flip side is, let's say the matatu came and knocked down someone because it was badly driven. What happens is that your mood changes. You're just thinking, I hope that someone will survive, that they are taken to hospital as quickly as possible, that the matatu crew takes responsibility of their action and stuff like that. That could just dampen your mood. And when you think about it, because life is precious, that when you think about it. So that's how the environment would actually, or whatever your mood. So we know that people express moods differently, and there are 7 types of mood. There's the happiness, the sadness, the surprise, the fear, the anger, the disgust, and the contempt. Those are the 7 moods that you will find being exhibited by any human being. Sometimes we feel fearful, and we can see from the mood in terms of the fear, the happiness, how we even manifest ourselves, whatever the sadness, we are drawn back, we are not being able to bring ourselves out of that shell of sadness. Surprise, we are all going to the Maldives, and you feel happy and you just think, oh my gosh, that is so awesome. When do we start going and when do we start partying? Anger, something has happened and you're just thinking this should not have happened. And I'm not going to take it in lying down, I'll fight to the whatever. So you can see someone who is angry and the expression that they have on their face. The disgust, just something that you think this is not something that the other person should know better. Just being disgusted that it's not happening the way it should. And sometimes you're justified in terms of the situation, looking at the situation. It's something that someone should have made a better decision, but they didn't, so you're flabbergasted, you're disgusted, and of course, contempt, those sounds of, okay, what's going on right now and here now, just you feel contemptuous of the situation and the whatever. So contempt is more of I would say very well in my language, and I'm trying to look for the English word for contempt of court. You feeling like, who can help me in the English word that I'm trying to describe contempt? I remember, then I'll come back to it. But those ones of you're in contempt of something. But anyway, so the general mood concerns your outlook of life, your ability to enjoy yourself and others, and your overall feelings of contentment and dissatisfaction. It has 2 dimensions. We look at the happiness and the optimism, in terms of general mood. And really moods control a lot of how you react and how you're going to be able to be successful throughout the day. And moods oscillate. Something might just happen and zoom, 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 zoom. The results of your performance, you are happy, going happy. I did my performance appraisal 2 weeks ago. The results, I think it's to my best of my ability, I've done very well. Then now your peers have come and evaluated you, your senior, your peers, your juniors, and the report. You wonder, is this and the same person? Is this Catherine, the body I'm carrying? Is this what people think about you? And that changes your mood completely the whole day completely. So things, the environment that I'm talking about can change your mood. And you're not able to come out of it. But how do you regulate it to be able to see, how do I still fit in this organization, and how do I bring my best out of it? Of course, some things you have to, you can't say that you're not feeling bad. Feeling bad is feeling bad. But how do you now dissect and find out, why am I feeling bad? What situation is this? How can I remedy the situation? And how do I move forward? Again, bringing back the authentic self, knowing that I need to be me all the time. I need to be in control of my emotions, even if it is a bad situation. How do I handle it so that I get the results that need to be gotten? And at the workplace as well, there are some people who just have bad vibes, negative energy all the time. I like where people say only good vibes in this department. Bring in only good vibes. I think that's a good thing. And it should be encouraged. But there's some people who are always in a foul mood. They're never happy. They don't see anything good in life. You just wonder, you're missing such good opportunities to live life in full, like what we said in the other slide, that you need to live a purposeful and full life. But if you're always down, always moody, nobody even wants to be associated with you. So you carry that label, always moody, leave them. They won't, nobody will invite you to go for lunch with you, even if it's wherever we are going, to the Kibandaski, to the real Kibanda, I like the Gen Zs, they've got all sorts of things to make us happy and to think, oh, your lingo is very different and it's nice, it's fresh, it's outwardly looking. So we need to think about those kind of things. So under happiness, what are we talking about? Because happiness makes the world revolve and go round, bringing that optimism, even if it is very difficult, and how do we turn things around if we are positive around it? The ability to feel satisfied with your life and to enjoy yourself and others and to have fun. It's never that serious. I have that mantra. No matter how difficult it is, there is still humor in everything. I believe that you can relate with that. Even amidst the worst of the worst, I love Kenyans and our ability to hone the keyboard and really the memes and everything, that whatever, even in a dire situation, there'll always be something that will make us smile and be happy. So happiness combines self-satisfaction, general contentment, and ability to enjoy life in general. So what is having fun? Anybody, what's having fun? What do you think about ability to have fun? Especially at the workplace? How can we make it fun? We spend a lot of time there. How can we make it fun and enjoyable? So there's a lot of, even the way the office is laid out, the design thinking around it, there's you can do a lot of research on your own around design thinking and style at the workplace. Brings in a lot of how we set the mood and the tone and mood of the organization. Things that really contribute, some greenery here and there, some nice posters, our milestones, our achievements, furniture that is conventional and supports our well-being first and foremost. Things that we can be able to engage with. I see people having some places that we can be able to play some games, board games, pool tables, darts, things that really connects us and have fun, bringing in our competitiveness as well in terms of let's play a game of pool at lunch hour. Meet me, you will see me. Today I've perfected my game and stuff like that. Fun could also making sure that we bring people with same interests together. People who like to read, you can do a book club. People who like to play different games, whether at the marathon, I see different companies, labels, they've sponsored their people, but they have the t-shirts for the organizers, but they have their company name and they're proud and singing and stuff like that. So just bringing that aspect helps us to be able to bring the fun aspect to work. It's never that, it's not done. We've lifted it up with fun that is common to everybody and can accommodate everyone. If we're able to, and if budgets permit as well, and if you have also space that permits us to do that. But we have to also understand that motivation comes from me as an individual, first and foremost, that I need to be self-motivated, and then the environment needs to accord me that motivation aspects that need to be created for me to continue to be self-motivated. Even if I'm self-motivated, how? Intrinsic motivation at the workplace are lacking, then my motivation will dip. Look at someone who's come to work for the first time, working with this organization. Someone who's got zeal, motivated, happy to go. I'm happy I got this opportunity. I've always wanted to work with this organization. When they go in, they say, hey, the green that I thought was here, the grass is always green on the other side. It's not what I expected. It's not what I am seeing. So, of course, if as much as I would like to combine that motivation, I'm a fun-loving person, I try to be adaptable, everything that goes with emotional intelligence. But if the environment does not accord me those kind of considerations, then there's no way that I'll keep self-motivated for a long period of time. And if you're a person who has not mastered the emotional intelligence and be able to say that this environment is not going to change me, because an environment can for sure change you and come and say, I was never like this. I've really changed. What has happened? And you look back and say, it's this environment that I'm in. This environment is not good for me. And you make that decision to come and say, I am going to leave. While we also know that good jobs are few and far between, but there's also that aspect. I'm not saying that it's perfect, but that could come to that realization. So it's important for the employer to accord people an opportunity to remain self-motivated by putting these programs and things in the organization to make it work like that, especially if they can be able to afford and be able to do so. And we're not saying that you do everything at once, all at once. It's incremental, just saying that let's buy a dartboard, put it, maybe if it calls for you to budget, and budget very well because money is tight. Budget it. Maybe it will take you 3 months to save and bring a dartboard on the wall and put one wall to be able to do that. So it's important for us to be able to do these things. So that happiness, combination of self-satisfaction. Again, contentment is one thing that we need to master as human beings. How content are we? I'm saying be content, but don't settle. That's the one thing. Be content, but don't settle. Those dreams and aspirations that we have talked about are important, but also know that you need to enjoy life. It's not like I get it is when I will feel happy, or I have not found it, so I cannot be happy. That Desiderata song is very true. There'll always be people who are more better than you. So if you aspire to be better, you get to them. What have they done? What do you learn from them? Take up a mentor, take up a coach, read, do things that will make you get there. But happiness is an important factor amongst all other moods that we have talked about. So happiness is associated with the general feeling of cheerfulness, like what I've said, and enthusiasm. It is a byproduct of a biometric indicator of your overall degree of emotional intelligence, emotional functioning. It's a big one. The other emotions that I talked about, the 7, sadness, surprise, fear, anger, disgust, and contempt really are negative. They don't work against them. They won't support you in your emotional intelligence and emotional functioning. If anything, you'll have to really come out of them for you to be able to be better regulated in terms of your emotions. And the final slide of what our seminar for today is optimism. I'm optimistic, my glass is always half full and not half empty, kind of things like that, very practical. The ability to look at the brighter side of life and to maintain a positive attitude, even in the face of adversity. Optimism assumes a measure of hope in one's approach of life. That is the whole shebang of everything. How optimistic am I? We always say there's nothing like bad weather. It's only bad dressing. If it's raining, I can't go out, I won't be able to do this, complain about the weather. Fair enough, maybe the activity that you needed will not allow you to go out. But if you are to go somewhere and you know that somewhere is important, put on a raincoat, get an umbrella, go. It's very sunny. I'll not be able to walk in the sun. It is not good. This weather is too bad today. Put on a sun hat, walk and go. Things like that. So there's always the weather is dull. What do I do? Now I'm feeling dull because of the weather. Get something that you like to do. So weather elements are there to stay. There's nothing that you can do about weather. There's always how to react to that weather. It's the same thing about optimism. How optimistic do you stay when things are not going well for you? And what positive attitude do you bring to the table and regulated by your emotional intelligence? So that is important for us to be able to do that. That brings me to the end by saying that yesterday we went to this beautiful hike, Friday Nature, and so we went to Castle Forest, Kimuichi Falls. Ooh, it was something. So the previous day it had rained. Now it's the raining season. So when we got there, about 50 of us, it started raining. So we had been told, of course, we knew it was going to rain, but we just thought, and we had the decision. We could have said, it's raining, we'll not hike the 20 kms back and forth, or we can decide to go. Of course, we decided to go. We had already said this is the hike, this is what it is. Of course, getting to the waterfall, if you have done that hike, is something that is, it's something. It's really something. So we respected the ones who didn't want to go down to the fall because it is torturous, let's put it like that. But it's a nice sign, it's a nice beholding scene when you get there. So that's the same. The ability to bring yourself to the fore and say, I'm enthusiastic about this, looking at the brighter side of things. And that's when I was coming now, when I was passing through those many towns, looking at those boys and thinking, look at you guys riding your scooters and your implemented tires and stuff like that, building your cognitive ability, which you will so use when you grow older. So that's the same. I leave that with you, that your ability to be optimistic is everything that you need to look at. Whatever life throws your way, make sure that you always look at glass half full and not half empty. And being able to regulate your emotions at the workplace will definitely make you a better employee, will get you better results, and your employer will look at you in terms of who's the best person to pick. It's definitely so-and-so to be picked. So thank you for tuning in. I will go back to plenary and ask whether there are any questions. What do you think about it? Any questions? So I'm happy to take them up. If not, then we will say thank you very much, and we will see you next time. Then, do you have any announcements to make? Lydia, Meshach, Beth, Jane, was it useful? Jane, thank you for the session. Thank you for tuning in. Anybody else? Then you're on mute if you're speaking. If not, then we request that you end the seminar, and we see you next time. Thank you, everybody. God bless you. Bye for now.
Thank you, everyone. It's very nice to have you there at that seminar. Thank you very much, Catherine, for doing some very thorough work on the program on emotional intelligence at the workplace.
Yeah.
We all need this as human resource professionals so that we are able to handle our people with empathy and at the same time know how to deal with hard situations, also know how to deal with difficult conversations so that we can thrive and our workplaces can also thrive. Thank you very much. To our participants, you are able to access your certificate on the portal achlp.org. Log in using the password HR 2021. Small letters is one word. Then that way, you will be able to access your certificate. This recording will also be uploaded there. And the notes are also in the portal. You have a very good day. And where I am, it's very cold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to class. I have a class until 9 p.m. Kenyan time. It's all right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your time.
Okay. Thank you,
thank
Dan.
you.
All the best with your classes, and God bless you all. See you next time.